Thanks for coming to listen to this presentation today. Really what I want to cover off is, for me, something that I find more and more becoming a key topic of choice when people talk about going through HR transformation and HRIS implementations. And really it's one, getting the budget, getting that approved and the business case around it, because often there's, really a question around, well, what are my tangible benefits out of this? So understanding that. But two, you can have the best business case in the world, really good in a PowerPoint presentation, but how are you going to make that real? How are you going to realise the benefits that you're going to say, that you've put down there? A quote that I thought that was really, really relevant. Which if HR used the analytics today, that is available today, they wouldn't be asking for a seat at the table, they would own the table. If you think about the people of your organisation, they're your most important asset, right? And if you think about any organisation, the controller of the most important asset typically is the business decision maker, right? And that to me is something that's really relevant for us as HR leaders in the world, is taking those people and making sure that we're aligning them to the business and what we're trying to achieve from a strategy perspective. A couple of other interesting stats, which probably aren't as good, right? But something that we have to keep in account and bear in mind when we're looking at what the future of HR is and the future of work. And really, 44% of surveyed CEOs say that the prevalence of robotics, automation, artificial intelligence will make people largely irrelevant in the future of work. I know that's a really CEO type quote to throw out there, but the reality is things are changing rapidly with AI, machine learning, robotics, these kinds of things out there. We have to start to look at how do we harness the power of our people to effectively make that technology work for us, as opposed to the technology replacing us in its entirety. 67% believe that technology will drive greater value than human capital. And 64% believe people are a cost, not a driver of value. So that's something that we have to change. And the last piece there is 33% of surveyed HR teams are looking at using or are using some form of artificial intelligence technology to drive HR solutions. And 41% are actively building mobile apps to deliver HR services. So we're already on that path. I mean, the cloud's here, it's done. What's the next pieces that we're looking at? And it's these kinds of technology. It's probably worth then touching base around the evolution of the HR function and technology specifically around it. And really, if I go back to when we first started looking at these things, it was around being very payroll-centric, or HR 101, or personnel management. The focus was on controlling and regulating. That then very quickly evolved into being really integrated into an ERP strategy or an enterprise strategy. And that's to effectively look at providing data into those systems and automating certain processes. The next evolution was really, and I think this kind of ties in, it's the early advent of the cloud, and that's effectively talent management software. And that's to look at managing and enabling business decisions through those, through understanding some key metrics of your individuals and looking at developing that talent. Off those systems, Cloud HRM was born. Plan and support business strategy was kind of that main focus of those cloud systems. And really, that's kind of where we are right now. In between that and where we go, we're looking at sort of artificial intelligence and chatbots is probably the next big step that I see coming into the equation. And some people go, well, really, chatbots today, is that really something that's out there right now? Absolutely. I saw a really cool demo of a system the other day where it actually took a typical employee engagement survey that you would have after the first 12 months of an employee's tenure with an organisation, but it actually structured questions that would pop up into the employee's inbox through a chat on certain preset times of that life cycle of that first 12 months, and it really was enabling the company to judge how efficient the employee was being onboarded and fitting into the corporate culture. It was actually a chatbot that was doing that. And it would respond to questions around or statements going, oh look, I haven't had a really good day, and it would actually have a bit more of a human response back to the person. and therefore engaged the user more to go, okay, maybe I'll actually answer this in a bit more detail. That was a really piece of simple kit, taking something that you would do transactionally once a year, but using technology to help drive that engagement around it. So yeah, really the artificial intelligence chatbots I think is going to be where that future is, but how do we justify that? How do we bring that into the equation? If I look at what I see as 5 key drivers for HR transformation that are typically thrown out there, right? So engaging employees is always one. Promote learning and innovation. Managing your total workforce, simplifying process and operations. And these largely will start to drive into your HR processes, right? So your engagement with your employees, looking at your talent, promoting learning and innovation, again, your career development, giving them the tools to do the job, managing that total workforce in terms of workforce planning, workforce analytics, simplify process and operations in terms of driving self-services and sort of target operating models around that, and really ultimately providing the business the ability to make data-driven decisions. Right? So productivity, how do I structure my organisation, where do I invest in training, things like that are key points to talk about and to look at. A really easy sort of example to throw out there is when you're looking at recruitment systems. Often you'll see people are investing in job boards, they're investing, or they shy away from recruitment agencies, they want to invest in LinkedIn recruiting, but having the analytics to be able to see, right, well, what is my return on investment in each one of those channels, and therefore what should I focus on more? That's really the key. Right? You could throw tons of money away on sort of your social recruitment, but really if the people that you're trying to recruit aren't on social media, then there's no point. Right? Go for a solution to get those people in the door and attract the right talent. So I guess that's kind of the point here, right? It's to link your HRIS investment to your business strategy, right? And that's going to be what's going to get your business case approved, right? Is to say to the business owners, the decision makers, look, firstly, what are your business objectives? What are you trying to achieve over the next 3 to 5 years? Right? Is it to drive revenue growth? Is it to take cost out? What are you actually trying to do, right? And then step back and go, okay, what can we do to align our HR strategy with those business objectives? Right? Don't go and ask for investment for a recruitment system when there's cost takeout happening. Right? That's not something that's going to get approved, really. But if you're looking at productivity gains and stuff like that, then yeah, maybe looking at an element of automation into the system, looking at process improvement through improving self-services and what you can push out to your employees and managers. Trying to understand those kinds of business drivers and attaching the technology to those drivers is something that's going to help with that business case. And that then will start to give you a case of saying, okay, well, where am I right now in terms of my capability? Right? If I do have to go through and look at self-services and productivity gains and things like that, I don't have a system right now to be able to do that. So maybe that's what I need to focus on. And what's my org structure going to be looking like to be able to utilise that technology? And ultimately that then gives you a way to look at what your investment's going to look like, and more importantly, the return on investment off that. That's really ultimately the goal. Once you get your business case done, that's great. You get it approved, you get up in front of the board, you say, I'm going to save you $5 million over the next 3 years. You're going to give me $1 million up front to be able to do that. They go, okay, that sounds really good. Off you go. You get a year into your project, system goes live with all the various modules that you've shown, and no one's using it. Right? You go, why do I still get phone calls for people to update my address or update their address? This is annoying me. Just go do it in the system. They go, well, I don't know how to log in, right? Or, you're still sending out emails going, guys, put your performance, put your goals in, do it now. And then, your board's sitting there saying, why don't I have this information? Well, it's because they're not using the system, right? So ultimately, really, to get the business case realisation going, you have to get people to use the system. So the challenge is really increasing self-service adoption, getting people to use the system themselves. And look, there's a natural human sort of issue that we've had to deal with. We've had really horrible looking systems to deal with. It's in the past though, right? That's changing. So the market has started to deliver what we need in terms of technology. So that's something that we should embrace and should champion. Improve data quality. Nothing annoys people more than logging into the system and going, I don't report to that person. Why is this in here, right? Make sure that the data is accurate when you're rolling this out from the get-go, and that it's maintained on an ongoing basis. Ultimately, you want to reduce the support costs. So really that comes down to standardizing, taking the product out of the box. I like to use the term adopt and then adapt, because really there shouldn't be any reason why you can't adopt something out of the box unless it's legally required. And then by right, the technology should actually comply with that legal requirement. And then the last little bit that I'd say in terms of making sure that you can realise that business case is continuous improvement, right? That business case that you put up front to get that $5 million of savings was based on this big picture. And the reality is you don't eat an elephant, all at once. It's one mouthful at a time, right? And that's the mindset. Let's do what we can do right now. Right, cool, that worked. We've got a new quarterly release coming through. It's cloud, it's innovative. Great, let's now take this next bit and continually improve what you've got and have that mindset to align to that improvement. And then over time, you'll see, yes, you have got those benefits. They may not happen on the first day, but you'll get there, right? Really, how do you drive that adoption and why is that important? And if you look at training, right? Typically your traditional training programs or change and engagement really focused on firstly telling people there's a new system and then throwing out some training material, be it videos, be it simulations, PowerPoint presentations, whatever you have available, you use. But if you look at the life cycle of an employee in terms of how they retain knowledge, right, or an individual, you've got a learning curve where you start to train that person. The minute they walk out of that training course, they start to forget. Right? And I think there's some stats out there that kind of quote that. I think the minute you walk out the door, you lose something like 20% or 25% of what you've learned. It's phenomenal, right? And then what do you have to do? You've got to start retraining them. You have to start re-engaging them, right? And then you move into this mindset of, okay, well, look, let's do some space learning and dealing with that sort of space forgetting curve. And that's kind of that red bit down the bottom, which is really unproductive time. So, you've done a formal training course, you then do a bit more communication, and then you start sending out sound bites on a weekly basis or whatever. That's your traditional comms. All of this is unproductive time, right? And really what you want to do is you want to figure out how you can get the people to use the system without massive amounts of training. Take LinkedIn, right? World's greatest HR database, right? No one taught me how to use that. Facebook, no one taught you how to use that, right? The technology is getting there. So we've got to start treating it that way. There's three key elements that we see to dealing with approach, right? And there's technology out there that can do this. We've got a tool that's based on a digital adoption platform called WalkMe. For any of you who have known me long enough, I like to stick sync in front of anything, so we've rebranded it Sync Pilot. And really what it does is it's a three-stage approach. So firstly, it provides guidance. Right? So if you can think about the difference between a street map and GPS. Right? This is the easiest example I can sort of throw out there. In the past, when you said, hey, I want to go from my house to this place over here, you got out your street directory, you wrote down that you turn left over here, turn right over here, you go, okay, cool. I stop over here, I go around the roundabout, all that kind of stuff, and then you get halfway there and you get lost and you go, all right, let me pull over again, let me get the street directory out, let me figure it all out again. Whereas now, with GPS, you get in the car, you go, I want to go here, and your car starts to tell you, turn left, turn right, do this, that kind of stuff, right? If you take a wrong turn, the GPS goes, do a U-turn in the middle of Pacific Highway, which isn't going to happen, but that's invariably what it tells you to do. It self-corrects you. Wouldn't it be great if software did that? So I'm going to change my address. I'm not going to call HR. I'm going to ask the widget. How do I change my address? And it goes, well, click here, do this, enter your details in. Oh, you've entered in a wrong postcode. Why don't you put the correct postcode in? Okay, cool. And it steps you through the process. Now, this is no different to you putting a video on YouTube and then watching the video and then trying to recreate it. The big difference, though, is that they're doing it real time in the system. So it's not unproductive time. It's real time, right? And that's kind of the first piece there. But that's really from a perspective of what can I, yeah, you have to still guess what those questions are going to be right now, right? I think they're going to ask me about the address. I think they're going to ask me about pay slips. I think they're going to ask me about how do I enter a goal, right? That still has that traditional mindset of you pushing stuff out. Engagement, for me, is another key piece. So that concept of chasing people to put their goals in, or chasing people to update their details in the system. Being able to push them into the system, to funnel them into the system, be able to do that without you having to chase them is something that is really key. Right? But knowing that you've got to do that is that sort of X factor, right? And that's really where insights come into play. And that's the third piece of this sort of triangle for me. Wouldn't it be great if you could track what employees are asking for help on? Right. So yes, in the past you could log calls, you could look at the analytics in your case system to go, I get 200 calls a month on how do I look at my payslips. I'm going to send out some training on how to do my payslip. Right. What this tool does is it actually tracks on a daily basis what employees are typing into the widget, the navigator, to go, look, I want to do this. Right. It then allows you to say, actually, I don't have a walkthrough, I don't have a step-through guidance for that process. So let me actually answer that need now and push that out there. And all of a sudden you're actually giving the employees, the users, what they want without actually having to do a lot of analysis other than looking at the real-time metrics in the system. And so it's a bit of an interesting bit of technology. It's worth having a look at. I think we've got a demo at our booth if you guys want to stop by and have a look at that. I won't be doing it. I've got far better people who do demos than me, but definitely stop by and have a look. Really, the last piece that I just wanted to close off on, right, is, whilst that's thinking, some key takeouts, right? It's all about becoming a digital winner. It's about technology, digitalisation. Really embrace the technologies, right? Looking at, firstly, executing a company-wide digital vision, I think is the first key point here, right? Embedding technology in all aspects of the organisation, but at the same time making sure that you're not adopting technology just for the sake of it, right? Don't go spend a bunch of money on something that's not going to be used. So try and target that expenditure, but still look at embedding it in. Streamlining decision-making, there's two sides to that, right? To make claim-driven decisions in real time. And really, when you're looking at cloud-based technology, you want to be able to empower your teams to be able to make decisions quickly. In the implementation of that technology, first of all, let's not go through bureaucratic sort of decision-making processes. I've seen projects that it's taking longer to actually make the decision than it was to actually implement the final end state. So, I encourage people to try and look at making quick decisions real time, and then ultimately distributing that decision making across the organisation. So empowering your employees, empowering your managers to be able to do that. I used I cut my teeth on payroll systems, and I used to always get the request that was, when employees put in their leave request and managers approve it, HR wants to approve it after that. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do? You're going to say no? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Well, if it's a valid leave request and the managers approved it, why would you say no? Well, what if it's out of policy? Well, the system would tell them it's out of policy and it wouldn't let them approve it. Okay. So it's just changing that mindset around that stuff. Flattening the organisation, focus on reducing complexity, taking it out, and that's going to help you adopt standard out of the box. You don't want to make a system work to your org structure. It's just not going to work, right? Not in this day and age. It's not going to support it. Offer the latest technology to all employees. The reality is right now, people have better technology at home than what their companies are providing them. Right? That's something that you go, who are we to stop? So the whole bring your own device thing, we don't even have computers that we provide our staff at our organisation. It's all bring in what you need, right? We'll secure it, off you go. And really the last piece there is building a digital workforce, providing the tools real time so that they're not at their desks if they don't need to be, right? Mobile, wherever they want to be, make it easy for them to use it so they want to use it. And really, if I summarise it, the three final things to look at is HR leaders need to become digital winners. We need to be at the forefront of this. We need to be adopting it. We need to be the ones that lead the way. Take a configured out-of-the-box best practice approach and really challenge yourselves from a mindset perspective. Right? Why do I need to do this? Just because it's done this way all the time, or for the last X number of years, is this core to the ethos of our business? No, it's not. Right. So let's have a look at taking something standard. And really, that's the final sort of saying. You heard me say it before, but I'd finish on that. And that's champion that methodology of adopting and then adapting. Challenge yourself to say, I'm going to take this out of the box, and then really I'm going to adapt through continuous improvement over time as my organisation changes, as the technology changes, things like that. So having said that, I'll open up for questions. Hold the tomatoes, please, guys.